in England. It's the Dead Piett Society podcast. Tune in next week for a much better episode. For now, courage.
Yes, hello, good evening everyone. Well, welcome listeners, one and all, to the Dead Piett Society podcast. I am your host,
Albert Galpin.
and with me today we have...
Darren Saunders.
Hey Darren, how are you?
Yo. Every week you promise a much better show next week, and every week that turns out to be a lie.
Yeah.
Okay,
each
as long
week
as you're
I keep-
aware.
Yeah, I'm totally aware. But that's what you do these days, isn't it? When things don't quite work out, you just say, no, what we meant next time.
Yeah. Like
Essentially
the-
what a politician is doing,
Like the
so-
barmaid at the Traveller's Rest that used to offer me a free pint tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd go in
Always
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Where's my free pint? She's like, it's tomorrow. Outrageous.
Spines. Outrageous indeed. Well, yes, you are listening and or watching to the Dead Piett Society podcast, where we talk about weird news and play some games. And this week, it appears like it's just the two of us this week. So the game may not work. So I may roll it over to a week when it does, because the game I know the answers to, so I can't play it against you.
But at least I have a chance of winning it.
And it doesn't. Yeah, so I think you win by default.
Woohoo!
Those of you who are watching and want to get involved in the show in any way you can, all the ways that you watch, whether that be on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, Twitch, I've posted a link in the comments where if you click that, you can jump in and join the show. And if you've got anything to say, any queries, questions, comments as we go, just click on that link and jump in the show and have a chat with us. If you are listening to us on the Bear Radio tonight, hello, welcome. You can message us on Twitter and Facebook. Let's get sock. Or just jump over to the video stream and come on, join us there as well. We've got some big, funny news stories for you. Before we get onto those, I know it's one of the stories that we binned off last week was the disappearance of the Utah monolith. And I see since then one has now appeared on the Isle of Wight.
I saw that, but it's different.
Yeah, it's like the Isle of Wight has always been a little bit behind the times.
Yeah, this one has webbed feet.
I was thinking,
Apologies to any
however
who
far
might be listening, but I believe they haven't got the 21st century over there yet, so they won't be able to hear it.
Yeah. And based on how everything else goes, I expect that probably means there'll be one on the Hailing Island in another couple of months. So I look forward to when that one crops up on the news.
Yeah. It's quite passé already, isn't it?
It's funny though, isn't it? This
Like
is
the murder
nature
clowns.
of...
Do you remember the
Whatever
murder
happened to the
clowns?
murder clowns?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was like a massive thing for about 2 weeks, and then nothing. No more murder clowns.
Yeah. Someone just got fed up of it, didn't they? Or
Yeah.
so someone got onto them and they were like, no, we can't do carry on anymore because then
Yeah.
we get busted. And then everything just forgot about it. But yeah, things move so quickly these days in the news cycle, especially on social media, that these monoliths is already old news.
See, what the monoliths need to do is go on to Good Morning Britain or whatever the hell that show with Piers Organ is called and start crying. That way they'll get some
Pretending to
media
cry.
attention. Yeah.
Or laughing and wiping away a tear.
Yeah.
That was never
So
there.
many people have died. Anyway, a little bit of politics for your comedy show.
A little bit of politics to start the evening with. So we're here with you until 9 o'clock tonight. And if you're listening on the Bear, then coming up at 9 may or may not be a football show, depending on if they actually release the episode whilst we're on air. And then I have to upload it because it's not out yet. So we might be able to just go on a little bit longer.
We don't need football shows. There's too many of them already.
There are quite a few of them, to be fair. So what I think I'll do, actually, you know what? Just before I was eating dinner downstairs and running a bit late, but kind of reading stuff online as you go, and I see the latest rumors and things that mentioned from various films. And I've just read today that apparently Alfred Molina has now been spotted on the set of Spider-Man 3. And is now rumored to reprise his role as Doc Ock from the old Spider-Man 2, which just makes things... And it's almost like they're throwing whatever they can at films these days.
Well, you've got to entice people to go and watch them. Who the hell's going to the cinema
This is
these
true.
days?
Yeah, well, no one. That's why Warner Brothers have gone, yeah, we're just not going to we're just going to release everything on HBO Max next year.
Yeah, Christopher Nolan is not best pleased with this.
No, really is not, is he?
No.
But then he released a film in cinemas and no one went. So,
well, that's largely, well, I mean, that's probably 50% COVID and 50% middling reviews.
Yeah.
I saw the trailer.
When you get the two combined.
Yeah, I saw the trailer for it and I thought, that looks interesting. But I don't know whether I've got the energy to go and watch that in a cinema. And then, COVID. And it's like, well, I'm definitely not going to watch it in the cinema. And then I saw all the reviews. They were like, well, the first hour and a half is a pain in the ass. But after that, it's fine.
Oh, that's what you want to know.
Yeah, I'm not sitting through 90 minutes of movie. That's a lot of Shawshank Before the Redemption,
Exactly. I tried watching something, what it was. I think it might be one of the Clone Wars cartoons on Disney Plus. I watched the first one and I didn't feel it. I wasn't feeling it. So I tuned out. And someone else said, no, it gets really good around season 3. I'm not watching multiple seasons before it gets interesting or I start to enjoy it.
That is a common refrain at the moment, though, isn't it? Like Schitt's Creek, the amount of people I'm telling you should watch Schitt's Creek. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's so heartwarming and funny, and it's just lovely. But the first series isn't that good, and so you're trying to convince people to watch the best TV show of the last few years, but the first 6 hours you put into it, you might not enjoy.
Yeah. It's a funny thing, isn't it? It's kind of old-fashioned in a way, because I always remember reading things about, I think, Dad's Army, and I think to a lesser extent Only Fools, and a few of those other classic British sitcoms that were not particularly well received in their first series when it aired first time, but because they were made by the BBC, who are not beholden to ratings, they could stick with them and go, well, we've got a show, we might as well stick with it, we'll try and improve it. And eventually they become the biggest things in the country at the time. That doesn't generally happen these days.
No.
But there are still a few shows that are like that they're like, okay, that was okay, but we can make it something much better.
This is the thing. Okay, firstly, I read an article a few years ago talking about Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road and how several studios, several record companies passed on it. He was an unknown, untested songwriter, and they passed on it. They weren't interested. And then who was it that took it on? It wasn't Virgin, it was pre-Virgin. I think it might have been Warner's. Anyway, whoever took it on did so on the basis that they were going to develop him as an act. And well, now we've got Elton John. And it makes you think how many artists and how many TV shows and how many movies and books slipped through the net because the studios, the record companies didn't want to take a punt on an unknown figure,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
But,
and then you get some things that seem to come out completely out of left field from people who are unknown and just go to instant mega stardom. Yeah. Or become the biggest thing on TV. And so it's odd. Some people with all the talent take ages to get there, and some people with none get straight there. It's a very odd situation.
Some people who you didn't hear of before turn out they've got well-connected family members.
Oh, absolutely.
I believe that was the case with Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Fleabag came out of nowhere, really, but it turns out that she's got pretty well connected. I mean, fair play to her. She used what she had to get where she got, and Fleabag is phenomenal.
I saw someone post them in some podcasting groups on Facebook, and I saw someone's message on there about they're saying that their podcast, and I almost gave up after a few episodes when people weren't listening. I had real moments where I thought about packing it all in, but I stuck with it. I worked really hard, and now we're number 2 on the charts on iTunes, behind only the Crown's official podcast, and we're new and noteworthy, and we're this, that, and the other. I'm like, wow, well, fair play, you've done really well there. Let me check out your podcast and see what it is. And it was something about, I forget what it was called now, but it was interviewing celebs from the 80s and 90s to find out what happened after they got famous.
Right.
And like people who did something and then disappeared, and it was interviewing them. And the list of the guests that they had interviewed was like, well, this is not someone who's just rung them up and said, can you do my podcast? They've clearly got some kind of, because these people would not say no. Would not say yes to someone who, I forgot who the first person was. Like episode 1 was someone like really famous.
Yeah.
I was like, well, how is this person on the first episode of their podcast? I've never done a podcast before, but I think I've got a good idea. Can you come on?
Yeah.
Actually, you could act. You're not going to go, yeah, why not?
Turns out they're close.
Well, maybe they got lucky.
Corey Feldman.
Yeah, absolutely. You got just get my 80s Rolodex out with all my my
an actual file of facts.
yeah, it probably would be
with a pen stuck
80s and 90s guests. Yeah. Like, these people haven't updated their details since the 80s. It'll be fine.
Corey Feldman, they're still strutting around with an enormous Motorola and with a briefcase.
I can see it happening.
Oh, certainly.
Right.
No, the whole podcast thing frustrates me because you see these people going, oh, I've had to really stick out my podcast, and here I am now 20 episodes in, and I'm only getting 1,000 listeners an episode. I'm like, I've put, hang on a minute, I've got like 15 or 20 episodes up, and I've got a combined total of about 150 listens.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. I mean, not everyone has big listeners and viewers. So hello to the 3 people watching us right now.
And 2 of them are us.
Thank you very much. I don't think so.
If you are listening, please tell us.
Last week, I did my radio show. And when I was doing that, I had open the website, which shows how many people are listening. And I got through that show, and it was only in the last 5 minutes where someone tuned in.
See, I keep forgetting.
Well, you've missed all the good content.
Yeah, I keep forgetting to do that when I'm doing my show, and I think afterwards, I should have logged on to see him. But actually, it's probably for the best that I don't.
Yeah, I have wondered that. So I was like, well, I think in future I might take out the competition that requires live active involvement.
Yeah,
if there's no one listening, because then at least you can still listen to the show back later. Yeah, and enjoy the music and everything else. So yeah. Anyway,
I know for a fact I had 2 listeners last night. For the most,
I was going to. My plan was to have headphones in whilst watching the football. But the football turned out to be a little bit exciting, and my headphones died, the wireless ones. So,
and that is why I only had 1 listener for the last quarter of an hour, because my mate Bob at work listened until the football got interesting, and then he turned it off in favour of the football.
Yeah, well, it's not often that happens. I mean, it was Southampton on TV on a Monday night, and they had a statistic that Southampton had not won on a Monday night on TV or on a Monday night since 1992, I think it was. Right. So it's a good record. Finally broken that streak.
Southampton haven't won a game since 1992.
Not on a Monday.
I had a friend of mine at work. He's a season ticket holder over at Eastleigh, and he was excited. Well, sort of excited on Saturday because Saturday afternoon he was going to his first football game since March. And I said to him, "You looking forward to it?" Then he said, "Well, sort of. Mostly I go because of the drinking." He goes, he meets up with his mates in the bar beforehand. They have a few pints, then they go and watch the football, catch up a bit, have a few more pints, and then stumble home. Of course, there's no bar. So I said to him, "What was the football like?" I saw him this morning. I said, "How was the football?" "Well, we lost." Oh.
It's always worse than you lost and you've not had a drink.
Yeah.
I think out of the way We got some in, which is a
Sports.
surprise. Oh yeah. Time then for the main bit of the show, which is called this.
Looking back at the oddest stories of the past 7 days, this is the weird week that was. The weird week that was.
Yes, it's the weird week that was. It's the oddest news stories from the past week. We have 5 headlines. I will then read them out. We decide which one we don't like the sound of, and then we'll talk about the other 4 stories. And at the end of that, Darren will pick his story of the week, because it's the only other one here this week. So
And we should
your
like
choice
draw
by
straws.
default.
Play rock, paper, scissors.
maybe we could. You might still lose.
No, that's true. Yeah, let's keep it as it is.
We'll just claim that you won it. So I need to turn on, for those watching, I'm going to share my screen, because story number 1 is this bad boy. What am I doing? Why is it suddenly trying to play music? Here we go. This story in UPI is the world's first Star Wars inspired lightsaber, which has earned a Guinness record. And there is a video of it. Let me play you a little bit of this to watch whilst... Oh, blimey, it's actually doing noise. I don't want noise. And its story says a Canadian YouTuber earned a Guinness World Record by taking his engineering skills to a galaxy far, far away and building the world's first retractable proto lightsaber. James Hobson says he and his team at Hacksmith Industries were inspired by the Star Wars films to create their own version of a retractable plasma lightsaber. The lightsaber is a hilt designed to resemble those used by the Jedi Knights, but is attached to tanks of liquid propane gas and oxygen gas to create a high level of heat required to make the plasma beam. The blade can be extended and retracted with a push of a button. The innovation earned Hobson a Guinness World Record for creating the world's first retractable proto lightsaber. The video shared by Guinness shows Hobson using the lightsaber to cut through objects, including a stormtrooper mannequin and various metals. And that is the full extent of the story. So let's get to just skip to the bit in the video where he's basically making the lightsaber. There we go. For those who are watching, that is the lightsaber, which is just cray cray. And I'm going to do that and then leave it to play so you can see it underneath while we're talking.
Do you want me to go down a quite nerdy welding route here? Because, well, other new listeners may not know, I am a welder and fabricator. I work with steel. I work with cutting gas. And all I can see when I see that thing is how big is the nozzle they're using to get a flame like that. They could cut a train in half with that thing. Assuming there's a decent amount of cutting oxygen, which, given the size of the bottles they probably have, I would say not very much. Oh no, it is actually running. Yeah. Is it running from bottles? So it's like hoses leading to the. Yeah, it's a cheat. It's a cheat. I don't care for it anymore. I thought it was like some crazy compact little thing, like they'd made a plasma cutter in, this tiny little handheld thing. But no, it's a cheat. I could make that work.
It's an actual full-on backpack. It's more like a Ghostbusters proton pack than an actual lightsaber.
Yeah, fair play to them though. That is crazy and would burn their eyebrows off.
Yeah, and I realized
as I was. Hair,
yeah, I believe it.
Gas cutting, that's the trouble.
I've realised the mistake we've made here is the fact that I was meant to read out 5 headlines, and what I've done is read out 1 headline and then just read the story, because I was a bit flustered and excited by the thought of a real-life lightsaber.
Read all the stories now. I'll let you off.
Why not? We'll just do that then. So yeah, it's a Canadian YouTuber has actually made, has made what Guinness have decided to class as a real-life retractable lightsaber, whereas Darren just it does not care for it because it's a cheat.
Yes.
I think though, if you think about what they've made, it is effectively, is it not just a big, they call it a plasma lightsaber. It's like almost like just a big blowtorch.
That's essentially what it is. Plasma
Which
is
is not
just
really what I like.
Plasma is just a fourth state. There's solid, liquid, gas, and plasma. And plasma's like halfway between. I think it's solid and gas.
Right.
And so, yeah, technically, it is a plasma cutter, but it is just oxypropane. I use oxypropane every day at work, but not like that. But it is interesting that they've made it so that it, because I mean, the flames we use for cutting metal up are usually only a couple of inches long. That's a couple of feet long. So,
yeah,
God knows, God, I have no idea how much gas they're running through.
I was going to say, I wonder how long they can keep it going before the tanks are empty. But also, can you imagine actually using one of those in a real fight? The first person just swings it. You've missed me. I was aiming for you. I was aiming for the tanks on your back.
Oh, yeah. That's a good point.
It's really not useful as a weapon.
Do you know what? Funnily enough, I was reading something the other day about flamethrowers. Because, who doesn't read things about flamethrowers? And they were talking about during it was the Second World War they had flamethrowers? Or was it the first? Either way, whichever war it was that there were people using flamethrowers, the operator of the thrower had like a ridiculously high mortality rate because they're the one that everybody was aiming at.
Yeah.
You cracked onto the battlefield with a flamethrower, people were aiming at the tanks on your back.
Yeah.
So
I can imagine
it was ever thus.
Yeah, it's not a job that I would want, I must admit.
I mean, I wouldn't say I wouldn't want the job, but
We'll move on to from lightsabers to droids. Sticking with something that could have come from Star Wars is why is it doing that? That's because I'm pressing the wrong button.
It will do that when you press the wrong button.
Yeah, it does. It's a pain like that, these systems. So this one is a story in Mazak Media. Pennsylvania legalizes delivery robots that weigh up to 550 pounds, classifies them as pedestrians. And there's a little picture of a couple of said delivery robots.
I haven't been to Pennsylvania, but I have been to America, and a 550-pound pedestrian is not out of the realm of possibility.
No, yeah. It says Pennsylvania has legalized autonomous delivery robots that roam sidewalks to deliver goods same day from business to business or from point of sale to the buyer. The use of delivery robots, which can weigh up to 550 pounds, was legalized after the bill was approved 105 to 97 last month, making Pennsylvania the 12th US state permitted to use autonomous devices for deliveries. The approval means that the robots, also called personal delivery devices, or PDD, are now classified as pedestrians so long as they can yield the right of way to real humans and cyclists. Bills regulating autonomous delivery robots have largely been pushed by delivery companies like Amazon and FedEx, according to Wired magazine. Those who oppose it are mainly pedestrians, as accessibility advocates, as well as labour unions like the Teamsters, according to reports. New Pennsylvania law allowing PDDs is arguably one of the least restrictive in any state outside of Florida, which is one of the least pedestrian-friendly states in the US. Pennsylvania's Senate Bill 1199 allows PDD to weigh up to 550 pounds. Washington State has a limit of 120 pounds as a comparison. SB 1199 speed limit on the sidewalk, 12 miles an hour. Only Florida has a faster speed limit, where municipalities can only institute a 15 mile an hour speed limit. So they're going to be on sidewalks at 12 miles an hour. That's extremely fast, said Eric Borer, member of a bike pedestrian advocacy group in Pittsburgh. Like many others, Borer does not believe it is proper to legalize PDDs, considering the average walking speed for pedestrians is only about 3 or 4 miles an hour. That's the basis of the story there. It's these little robots.
These are not the droids I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I don't want these, I don't know, Wally. They're basically Wally without the cute arms.
Yeah. I mean, that FedEx one there on the right, I'll describe it for the benefit of those listening. It's just a little box on wheels. It's got what look like headlights at the front and a little, vent or something underneath, but it makes it look like it's got a little bit of a face. That's got to be deliberate, right?
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Yeah, they're I wonder how long it'll be until they give up on them, because using humans to deliver stuff is cheaper than the inevitable repair costs.
Yeah. Or there are just replacement costs when someone just nicks them.
Well, I imagine they're all GPS tagged.
Yeah, but you think if someone, depends on, have they got cameras around them 360? Will someone just grab it, throw against a wall and take whatever's in it?
Yeah. Give it a good old smashing with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, yeah.
Crack it open. Not that I'd do that, of course.
No.
Obviously.
Especially depending on what's been shipped. If you see it coming out of a shop that sells tech, you know there's high likelihood that there's going to be something valuable in it.
If you see him trundling out of Uni Kebab up in Burgess Road, you're probably going to take one out and get that delicious kebab out of it. Little Southampton humour there for those listening.
Matt Lee says this thing will probably do a better job than my courier.
Hey Matt, is your courier also from Hermes?
Matt runs an online toy store, so he has a lot of work with couriers. So he's obviously got a lot of experience in said matters.
Right. You have my sympathy, Matt.
Some of them are horrendous. Some of them are very good, to be fair. I was very surprised. This is Matt's response to you there. On Sunday, I woke up and I picked up my phone, had a look, and I had an email from Amazon saying your package has been delivered. And I looked at the timer on it. 6:30. They attempted to deliver a package at 6:30 on Sunday morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's almost as dystopian as anything I've heard. Some poor guy's getting paid minimum wage to deliver shit at 6:30 on a Sunday morning when every right-thinking person is A, still asleep, or if they are awake, they're thinking about bacon.
Yeah.
Or a vegetarian alternative to bacon. We're a broad church here. We allow vegetarians.
Fakin.
No.
Yeah. Not fakin.
No. I can't endorse fakin. It's no good.
Yeah, so Matt says he's sent over 500 parcels with Hermes since March, and to be honest, they've only lost one. But as far as timing and reliability, they're absolutely useless, he says.
Yeah. They don't lose the stuff. They just take their sweet time getting it to you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It does make you wonder then, both ways, doesn't it? I'm sure as for customers of a small business like that, if you'd purchase something like that and ages later it still hasn't arrived, you start wondering, was that business actually legit? They just nicked my money.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then you realize, oh no, wait, they've just used Hermes.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Because I had that issue. We ordered a new car seat for Hunter on Black Friday, and I literally had not heard anything since.
Right.
And it was from Green Flag online store. Except the Green Flag online store is run by somebody else, and they've just licensed the name Green Flag.
Right.
And I started wondering, it's like, is this just some kind of someone a bit dodgy who's a bit useless? Finally, I got an email today that literally just said, it's on its way, it'll be there soon. That's basically all it said.
You told us about this a week ago, so the fact that you're...
I got an email from DPD about 2 hours ago that said, it'll be there tomorrow, sometime after 11.
Good old DPD.
Like, okay, finally.
Good old DPD. You can track them on the GPS as they drive right past your house and claim that you weren't in. I love DPD.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember doing that, literally tracking someone. We were at my sister-in-law's, and I'd been talking to, there's a brand of chocolate that Kitty particularly likes, Tony's Chocolonely.
I tried this on your recommendation.
Yeah, and I remember tracking, we ordered some on Amazon Now, 2-hour delivery, tracked them, literally watched them, and then watched them deliver it to their own house. So
yeah.
It was very useful because I knew exactly where they'd been, so I had to go knock on the door and get it back.
Yeah. After you told us about that before, I went and bought some. That stuff is hellishly expensive. And
it is.
It's your fault that I had a summer of misery, once again addicted to sugary treats. Because I was doing so well until you told me all about that chocolate.
Kitty's bought a couple recently. They've got the new Christmas flavours out. So Kitty's got some gingerbread chocolate down in the cupboard.
Reindeer flavoured.
And I think there's a dark chocolate mint one or something. And then there's a gingerbread one, which is not too bad. Yeah, but the reason it's expensive is they track each section of the trade. There's no middlemen, and so they pay a reasonable rate for the cocoa, for the delivery, for the all that kind of stuff. Which is another reason why I think Kitty likes them, is they are responsible and they literally can track everything of where everything comes from. Whereas even those who say they are ethical chocolate growers, they've used a middleman at some point, which means someone has got shafted. But
you see, it's the endless problem, isn't it? Like, you want to be ethical, but you also don't want to spend more than £1 for 7 kilos of chocolate.
Yeah, because things have become so cheap, you expect that of everything without thinking what's happening at the other end that make it that cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, when you buy we don't, but if someone buys a 19p can of beans, it's like, well, how much does that can cost to make?
Well, realistically, that can probably cost about 6p.
Yeah, but still, that's a large proportion of 19p.
Yeah.
It's going towards packaging and shipping and all that kind of stuff.
It's not like you're getting any beans in that can.
They've got no money.
Yeah, you're not getting any beans in that can. You're just getting a can of tomato sauce, watered down tomato sauce with half a dozen beans.
Yeah.
I mean, beans technically is correct because it is more than 2.
Oh, yeah. Legally it's fine.
Yeah.
It's for the next description. I think
anyway, delivery drones,
delivery drones, yeah. This is what we got now. From obviously things that delivery drones could deliver, food, which brings us on to story number 3, which is this one. Woman hallucinates for months after eating 5-day-old gas station sushi. I don't know why
foolish
you buy sushi from somewhere like that. It's just stupid. Askable. It says a woman identified only as JC, obviously because she doesn't want people to know how stupid she is.
Jesus Christ. Jeremy Corbyn.
A woman, it's Janice Christ. Famished one night after work, came home and found hardly anything to eat in the refrigerator. She took a gamble and ate 5-day-old gas station sushi that had been ripening in her fridge, and boy, did things go south after that. The Daily Mirror recounts the harrowing tale, first shared on YouTube by verified user and allegedly licensed health provider Chubby Emu, whose videos contain crude reenactments of variations on cases I or my colleagues have seen in the past. She related to... Anyway, back to Jenny Christ, or Julie Christ, whatever I said it was. Aside from tasting a little sour, the sushi went down quickly with a dose of soy sauce. Then the symptoms began. Everything started with insomnia. Then the woman's sleep issues escalated into anxiety and confusion, plus an elevated heart rate that felt as if it were beating out of her neck. Next came the stomach cramps. She'd feel her stomach jiggle before she went to the bathroom. Well, that happens to all of us sometimes. I just need to stop eating so much chocolate. As time went by, JC started suffering from malnutrition, incontinence, hallucinations of bugs crawling up the walls and underneath her skin, and bouts of anxiety. Sounds delightful. If all this sounds like the beginning of a horror movie, well, it sort of is, because things get worse. Seizures followed. Then there was a barrage of testing until finally doctors found evidence of tapeworm eggs in her stool, along with broken segments from a tapeworm. They identified it as a particular name that I'm not going to pronounce, a Latin name, one of the largest, which can grow up to 9 meters long. Okay, I'll give it a go. Elobothrium latum. I don't know.
I mean, for all I know, that was absolutely spot on. So well done.
Yeah. Apparently, these tapeworms really like vitamin B12, taking it away from the host. JC basically starving her essential nutrients, which are key for cellular and nervous function. After so much agonizing, JC was given a dose of praziquantel, an anti-worm medication. She made a full recovery. And if there are any more reasons to avoid gas station sushi, well, I'll still eat it.
You know how every week you seem to pick a story that is... sorry, I interrupted you there.
That's right.
You know how every week you seem to pick a story that seems to be like a press release? Yeah. I reckon that was a press release for the anti-tapeworm medication.
I would not put it past him.
Yeah, I can smell big anti-tapeworm all over that. And it smells a bit bummy.
A bit sushi bummy.
Okay, so there's two troubles here. Janine Christ here did two things, right? Firstly, 5-day-old fish, wherever you get it from, no. Unless it's supposed to be 5 days old. But if it's just been sat in your fridge for 5 days, no. Yeah. And I speak as somebody for whom used by dates are merely a suggestion, a dare, if you will. Secondly, sushi from a petrol station, just no.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
I wouldn't buy that kind of food from that kind of establishment. If I'm buying any kind of food from that kind of establishment, it's dry, packaged, not something that's going to go off.
It's a pie or
wouldn't get anything
a
out
slice.
of
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't even get anything that was heated or cold from a petrol station, just because generally they're rubbish and overpriced. But also, if you were buying something from a petrol station, you were buying it for convenience because you are out somewhere and you need something to eat.
Mm-hmm.
You don't buy sushi from a petrol station, then take it home and put it in your fridge for almost a week before actually eating it.
No. I can't remember the last time I bought food in a petrol station that lasted longer than 20 minutes.
Exactly, yeah.
And I speak as someone
I get from a petrol station are chocolate.
I'm a little confused by something you just said about you buy food because you need to eat. I buy food because I've gone to the petrol station.
Okay.
I'm awful partial to the £1 chicken and mushroom slices you can get in the petrol station near my work. The best petrol stations are the ones that have got those weird little, like a happy shopper attached to it.
Right, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Not an Esso with its Tesco's or is it Texaco use some other, do you know what I mean? Like a lot of the brands have got a specific shop attached to them now. I like the really weird little petrol stations run by Asian fellas selling all kinds of random food.
Oh yeah, and there'll always be. I always find this like as well with certain convenience stores that there are certain ones, as well as all the food and stuff they've got in there. There will also be like a little tray of samosas or something that they have made. Their family have made themselves.
That's the good stuff.
You got a license to prepare and sell food fresh.
Don't ask any questions. Just enjoy.
It's probably really nice. I've just never had one.
Absolutely, but crucially, it's not sushi.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All I could think of when I was reading that earlier was the episode of The Simpsons where Homer dies because he eats badly prepared fugu. Fugu me.
Oh dear.
I don't know anything about sushi, but I know that you can't eat fugu unless it's been prepared by somebody who's licensed. And I know that because of The Simpsons.
Of all the places to learn that.
Well,
things that Simpsons has taught us over the years.
Every day is a school day.
I think I've only ever had actual sushi once, and for someone who was in Japan for 3 weeks, that's a pretty poor record.
That is very poor.
In my life, but it was very nice.
I had Chinese when I was in Japan, so I can't talk.
Yeah, well, I had a very nice burger when I was in Japan. One of my favorite burger restaurants of all time was in Japan. It was very nice. No, but we went to this place. We actually went to a cooking lesson. We were in Kyoto, and we were in this district nearby. We thought we'd go to the area. We'd seen some sites in the morning, and then we were going to the area near where our cooking lesson was. And we thought we'll have a look around. We'll get something to eat before we go to the cooking lesson, because I know we're not going to be eating much there, and we'll be there for a while. And we went to the one restaurant we could find, and it was I think a mackerel restaurant. Basically, they had two dishes. Mackerel sushi and mackerel sashimi, and that was it.
What's the difference?
Raw. So I'll have right. And Kitty was like, I'll have it raw. So yeah, she had proper sushimi.
And one of you got a 9-foot tapeworm.
No, we were both okay, which thankfully, no issues from eating food. I've never had an issue from eating food abroad.
I've never had food poisoning, but I have had issues from eating too much food.
Yeah,
that's the more common problem for me. But yeah, I've
Yeah.
got cast iron stomach. I can eat anything. It's great.
No, I can't quite do that, but I know my limits, so I steer clear of certain things. But that's story number 3. Anyway, the woman who hallucinated for months after eating sushi from a petrol station. The crazy woman. The next news story is actually from the Beeb. It's not often we have a Beeb story on this, but this is a story from Japan again. I say again, nothing's been from Japan yet. I just mentioned Japan. Japan to fund AI matchmaking to boost birth rate. It says Japan plans to boost tumbling birth rate by funding artificial intelligence matchmaking schemes to help residents find love. From next year, it will subsidize local governments already running or starting projects that use AI to pair people up. Last year, the number of babies born in Japan fell below 865,000, a record low. The fast-growing nation has long been looking for ways to reverse one of the world's lowest fertility rates. Boosting the use of AI tech is one of its latest efforts. Next year, the government plans to allocate local authorities 2 billion yen, that's 14 million quid, to boost the birth rate, reported AFP news agency. Many already offer human-run matchmaking services, and some have introduced AI systems in the hope they will perform in a more sophisticated analysis of the standardized forms where people submit their details. A few of the existing systems are limited to considering criteria such as income and age, only producing a result if there's an exact match. Local media say that the funding aims to allow authorities to harness more costly advanced systems that take into account factors like hobbies and values. And the story goes on for a bit longer, but that's the essential bit of it. Apparently, there's a report suggesting a link between lower income levels and the loss of interest in romantic relationships among young Japanese adults.
I mean, it's depressing, isn't it? Firstly, I'll get the light-hearted comment out of the way. Judging by some of the comments I've seen on Twitter, generally from people, we could do with funding the exact opposite of that and have fewer people procreating, because it's just terrible out here right now. But it's kind of sad that the system under which we toil has led to us being so depressed that the Japanese have stopped being in relationships because they can't afford to be, because they have to get ahead. And so the government is now looking at ways to get them to procreate like giant pandas in a Scottish zoo, rather than just looking at the system they have and going, are we doing things wrong? No, we can't be doing things wrong. This is how it's done.
It's everyone else that's wrong.
Yeah. Are we the
People are
baddies?
wrong.
You know?
Exactly.
And it's kind of...
it's an odd one. In some respects, though, when you look at population levels, some countries slowing down wouldn't be a bad thing. I think they've got the issue they've got in Japan, that is, it's slowed down so much. And they've got such an aging population that certain industries physically won't have enough people working in them to be able to sustain themselves, and or enough people to look after all those old people in retirement and pay for their pensions and all that kind of stuff.
I find myself wondering, and I've been pondering this for a couple of years now, and I have sort of asked the question on Twitter, and no one's ever given me a real answer. How quickly would the human race diminish if everybody was restricted to having every couple was restricted to one baby? Like, if biologically we could only have one child per couple, right? How quickly would the human race diminish? Because you'd be reducing everything by one straight away, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
It probably by more than that, because some, for want of trying, don't have children. Some who don't want children. Some will be in relationship where they just can't have children or won't want children.
Yeah.
So restricting those who can to one will actually bring it down a lot quicker than you think. In that respect, I think.
Yeah. So I'm fascinated to know how quickly that would the population levels would drop if everybody was only if every couple was only allowed to have one child.
Yeah.
But I don't know statistics or maths.
Yeah. The issues as well depends on which sort of people are having the kids, because as much as a campaign for ending child poverty and stuff like that, in some respects, people up top kind of want that, because those are the kind of people who take the lowest paid jobs and do the things that they themselves don't want to do.
Yep, very much so.
So,
a bit of class warfare here on the Dead Piett Society. Get everybody riled up.
But it happens, and this is the problem they were saying about the US is Donald Trump's firm stance on immigration. It's like, well, no, the problem is that's why they're anti-immigration, but anti-abortion is because they want people to have those kids to be able to do the jobs that the immigrants are currently doing.
Well, yeah.
So
on a similar subject to that, I got to pondering the other day this whole work from home thing, and I read this big long thread on Twitter about the possible outcomes if work from home becomes more of an accepted thing and more companies decentralize. And the one thing it didn't say in this thread, and I'm genuinely interested to know how this pans out, is once every big company is decentralized and everybody's working from home, at what point are the companies going to start recruiting from other countries because it's cheaper workforce? So everybody's kind of trumpeting the notion of working from home because, it'll provide a better work-life balance. It's better for the environment. All this, it's better for costs. You can move to a much cheaper part of the world and still do your job. But your job will eventually be outsourced to or be just offered to someone in a different country whose hourly rate is 1/4 of yours.
Or what might happen is you'll find that some members of the team are in different countries and others are elsewhere, so that you've got a team available 24 hours a day because you've got a couple of people in
that's true,
Hong Kong, and a couple of people in Peru, and you've got people at different time zones, so that
suddenly you've got companies working 24 hours a day.
Which is something that might happen. But it could go two ways. Certain companies absolutely will go wherever it's cheapest. Other companies will then be able to sell themselves on, no, we're not doing that. We're keeping it here because the experience is here, and you're going to get the best by going with us because our people are here. Like, for example, the industry I work in health insurance. And there's in international health insurance, there seems to be a lot of people in this country who are very good at that. Whereas certain countries that would have to invest so much in training and bring them up to speed that it's probably not really worth it just to get a cheaper wage at the end of it. So I don't know whether that would happen there.
I mean for me, it's all a moot point because I can't work from home.
Yeah, you can't work from home, and someone in China couldn't do your job at your yard.
No. I've tried getting the wagon
very long.
Yeah. I mean, they've got railway lines in China, but
just what they need is just a really long lightsaber to do the welding from there.
Really long.
Where you are.
Yeah, not a bad shout. Not a bad shout. Do you really want the Chinese wielding a really big lightsaber? I suspect the Americans would have something to say about that.
Yeah, it might interfere with flights as well. If it's that big, it's going to be.
Well, you don't need flights anymore. We're all working from home.
This is true. You don't need to go anywhere.
Solved. Lovely.
Well, you know what? I signed an addendum to my contract at work this week, which basically means from the 1st of January, I am seconded to Italy.
You're working in Italy?
I will be working for the Italian branch of my company from the 1st of January.
Well, buono estante.
Yeah, obviously it means absolutely nothing will change. It's done purely because of Brexit, and it means that legally I am allowed to continue working on European customers after the 1st, from the 1st of January.
Hell of a commute, though.
We've all been seconded to some random little office in Italy.
Hell of a commute. You're going to have to, walk to your computer in your office and turn on that VPN to Italy. That's a modern commute. How very depressing. You can't even read the paper on that commute.
No. Well, no, my current commute is still, my bedroom is on the other side of that wall behind me. So it's not exactly far. But the distance between the two doors is about 2 steps. So.
Yeah. But this time you'll get to drink nicer coffee.
Yeah, I'll have to tell Kitty to get the good stuff in.
You have to get Kitty to drive up and down the landing on a Vespa. Wolf whistling at you.
think it works.
How the hell did we get to this? What were we talking about?
Time. We were talking about
Japan.
Birth rates in Japan.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Gone to Italy. Going all around the houses.
Apparently, we've exhausted that because we've got 10 minutes to go.
Well, we've got one story left, which is from the website popularmechanics.com, the well-known website that is.
I'm on their RSS feed.
And it is this. 5G truthers bought Faraday cages to protect their routers, and they're mad that it worked.
They're mad.
The story says, let's say they hate 5G and genuinely believe it causes cancer or spreads COVID, despite there being no evidence to support these wild conspiracies. To shield 5G's myriad evils, then you put your Wi-Fi router in a metallic box that blocks about 90% of the signal. There. Now you're instantly protected from those treacherous waves of radiation. This may sound like a made-up scenario, but 5G truthers really have bought these devices in droves. There's just one small problem with their foolproof plan. The kinds of containers that truly do block all electromagnetic radiation are called Faraday cages, and they're not the same thing as these so-called router guards that look like glorified mesh file organizers. If they were real Faraday cages, none of your home Wi-Fi signal would come through. There are scores of sketchy companies waiting to cash in on customers who believe in 5G-related conspiracy theories, including the brands RouterGuard and EMF Essentials. These scams aren't necessarily new, but the Amazon product listings have gone viral after a December the 2nd tweet pointed out the irony of the whole ordeal. And there, for those of you watching, is a screenshot of some of these things on Amazon and a couple of the reviews. This one here says, the box does work at keeping radiation, but it also Wi-Fi will not work. It decreases the signal by about 90%. We really wanted to like it. Of course. In general, it says you should be wary of any product that promises to block harmful radiation. There are legitimate products that will do so, like an X-ray machine in medical imaging environments or Faraday suits for situations where technicians may be working on dangerous power lines. But those products are mixed in with fraudulent tools like these router blockers. Brilliant. And then it goes on to talk a bit more about radiation. But yeah, people are buying these dodgy devices on Amazon.
I'll give you a little spoiler. This is my story of the week. I laughed like an absolute lunatic when I read that the other day. It's just beautiful. I mean, on the one hand, the people making those are terrible and unscrupulous and would sell your grandmother for the hint of a profit. But on the other hand, they've done us all a favor. They've taken these people off the internet, and what more could you want?
Yeah,
these are heroes. Absolutely. Not all heroes wear capes. Some of them make Faraday cages and sell them for $200 on Amazon. Beautiful.
It's just absolutely brilliant. I mean, I've seen, obviously you can get these various technologies to stop signals of all kinds. For Christmas, I think last year, the year before, I bought my brother a wallet that stops certain signals, so someone can't come along with a contactless machine and just swipe people's wallets in their pockets.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff, which is a good use of that kind of technology. But the idea of putting anything that blocks any kind of signal on a machine whose prime purpose is to send out signals is just so brilliantly stupid.
It's wonderful. I love it. I love it so much. I
really hope that the people who made them aren't actually just the usual shysters who make random stuff for Facebook for Amazon, but are people who, like you or I, just find it funny that these people exist and thought, we need to educate these people the way that they're going to understand, like putting a lesson in their front room and cost them 200 quid in the process.
It's beautiful. And actually, after reading the article that I saw the other day about it, it got me to wondering whether or not Virgin fell for that trick, and that's how they built my router.
Yeah, I do wonder sometimes.
It does seem likely, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, I have now switched to pure Wi-Fi in this room. Previously, I had a range extender with a wired connection in here for my work, and I was getting on average, basically we get speeds of about 200 meg through Virgin here, and the wired connection on my laptop for work was about between 4 and 8 meg.
Money's worth.
So I switched to Wi-Fi, and I'm now getting between 12 and 20.
Ooh,
which is quicker than the wire, which is, I found, amazing,
lunatic.
but still not particularly quick.
By Grabthar's hammer.
But
What a signal.
2 weeks running, Grabthar's hammers made an appearance.
Oh, I'll get it in whenever I can. Totally your sector.
I've decided when in the new year, when me and Hunter basically swap rooms and he comes into this room and I get the back room, because it's then further away from the router, I need to do something about it. So I'm going to...
Well, you'll be on tube soon, won't you?
I will. I'm going to get one of these kits that will basically have an Ethernet cable running on the outside of the house.
Right.
Directly into the back room so I can properly wire it in directly to the hub.
I just ran a really long Ethernet cable through my house. Worked a treat.
Yeah, you won't let me get away with that.
Ow, you need a big drill. She won't even notice.
She's always here. What's that drilling?
These women with their ultrasonic hearing, being able to hear drills going through the wall. Anyway, yeah, that's my story of the week because it's wonderful.
Okay, well there we go. Well, that makes that easy then. So yeah, the 5G truth who's buying Faraday cages to protect their routers is our story of the week.
Big ups that man.
Stuff.
Or woman, or non-binary.
Well done to whoever
that
might be. You've done us all a massive favour by taking those people off the internet, as Darren says. Excellent. So there we go. That's our news section out of the way. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So have you got anything else you wanted to tell the people about
podcasts
this week, Darren?
Podcasts.
Yes.
I would like to recommend a podcast, and it's not mine for a change.
Okay.
It's called Goodbye to All That. It's a co-production of the BBC World Service, ABC Radio in Australia. Made by Falling Tree Productions, and the 9th episode went up yesterday. It's a 12-part series, and it's all about a woman whose husband died a few years ago, and basically the whole thing is about it's chronicling their journey through his illness and his death, and her picking up the pieces afterwards with her 2 daughters, and it is one of the most heartbreaking, raw, emotional things I've ever listened to. And it's absolutely compelling. And I'm glad that I'm listening to it week by week, because I'd be an absolute mess if I was listening to it at work, if I was binging all the episodes at once at work. And it's just so beautiful. It's heartbreaking and heartwarming at the same time. So yeah, goodbye to all that, it's called.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for that. I might check that one out.
I can't recommend any TV or movies because I haven't watched any TV or movies. I've been too busy doing radio stuff.
No, yeah, same. I haven't watched anything new for a while now. We've been over the last few weekends started rewatching the Marvel movies from the beginning. So we watched Thor at the weekend. So we're not very far into it at all.
No.
So another 6 months, and we might be we'll have finished the rewatch at this rate.
Yeah, we resubbed to Disney this week actually. That way we can
cool. Well,
we can watch The Mandalorian on it.
Ah, yes. So yeah, that I really enjoyed this week.
Yeah, we haven't watched any of it yet. We're waiting. My wife likes to she likes to know that everything's available to watch without having to wait.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I know. I quite like that.
Yeah,
as well.
just as soon as that last episode goes up.
When it came back on, we were like, "Oh, we're going to start watching that now." And Keith's like, "Yes, we can watch a couple of them tonight." And I was like, "No, it's only one a week." She, what?
Yeah,
because it's quite rare for a streaming service to do a one a week or so.
On the one hand, I feel like Disney are doing that nice thing of giving us that water cooler moment that we can talk about it at work. But on the other hand, I know that it's because they're putting up a 10-week series or 12-week series and only giving you 1 month free.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for that reason. And isn't it? I don't even think it's even a month anymore, or was it?
We didn't get the free month at all. When we signed up to it via our Apple TV, it didn't give us a free month, so we had to pay the tenner basically to watch Hamilton. But we watched the hell out of Hamilton. It was great.
Well, there we go.
And all that Jeff Goldblum nonsense.
Oh yeah, we've still got some more of them to watch.
So
as well.
good.
Let's just so much good content around at the moment to watch.
Speaking of which,
speaking of good content,
hey, man, we did the same degree course, didn't we?
My table is shaking. Oh, absolutely. So that brings us to the end of this great content for the evening. Thank you very much for those who've watched, hunted, or listened. We'll be back at the same time next week, and then we'll see about what happens over Christmas. We may have some changes afoot, but we shall keep you informed.
I'll just be here on my own chatting shit about news stories. Sit here for an hour and talk about weird news stories that I've seen.
Yeah, why not? Okay, well, that's the end then. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.